We would like to welcome you to Hungary, the land of the Hungarian-speaking people, to this freedom-loving nation with 1100-year history located in the center of Europe. These are the people whom Hungarian Ministries International is called to serve, and this is the country from where the Baranyi family escaped to reach their people through the radio waves during the dark age of communism. This is the country where they later return to reach out even more effectively with God's good news through radio, television, literature, and Bible education. Reaching the Hungarian-speaking people with the Word of God is a lifetime commitment for the Baranyis and the sole purpose of Hungarian Ministries International. Beginning with clandestine book publishing and tape recording ministries in the 50s and 60s, the Baranyis spent the following 20 years proclaiming the gospel through Trans-World Radio, bringing hope and salvation to their people behind the Iron Curtain. It was a fulfilling experience, sharing the blessing of God with millions, but it was not the culmination of their ministry. When God changed the circumstances, the Baranyis willingly embraced His new direction. That time arrived in 1990. The dramatic political changes in the former Iron Curtain countries opened up numerous new opportunities of ministry within Hungary itself. Radio was no longer the sole form of effectively proclaiming the gospel to the millions. Religious freedom had arrived, television became accessible, publishing restrictions were lifted. The question became, how can we help the Christians within the country to use their freedom to the fullest? Joseph answer, to establish Hungarian Ministries International, or HMI. Since the formation of HMI in 1990, Joseph Baranyi and his dedicated associates, both in the United States and Hungary, through the guidance and the help of the Spirit of God, have had a tremendous spiritual impact on the Hungarian people. A few of HMI's major accomplishments include completion and publication of the only concordance for the Hungarian Károli Bible, a project that was 20 years in progress. Publication of the Hungarian edition of the NIV Study Bible, the first of its kind in the Hungarian language. Completion and publication of the New Testament portion of the newly revised Károli Bible, which will be followed soon by the whole Bible edition. Production of thousands of radio and television programs, reaching over 15 million Hungarian-speaking people on a daily basis. Production of over 500 videos for a lending library, available for both children and adults through the mail. Production and distribution on an abstinence-based sex education program for the Hungarian school system, and organizing of religious symposiums in Budapest with participants from 8 nations. In 2002, Joseph Baranyi was awarded the prestigious Károly Gáspár Award from the government of Hungary for his dedication in nurturing and elevating the moral and religious fiber of Hungary over the last 30 years. Beginning in 1996, the government has presented this award to those who had made significant contributions to the nation's religious life in recent years. After accomplishing the Concordance and the Hungarian Study Bible, the next and probably most important work ahead of HMI is the revision of the archaic text of the Hungarian Károli Bible. Over 10 nationally renowned Bible scholars have participated in this work, which has been in progress for 8 years. We are in the Keszthely district of Buda, and this is the house where I grew up. Today, this is the headquarters of Hungarian Ministries International. The first Hungarian Bible was printed in 1590. This was the so-called Bible of Vizsoly. It was followed quickly by several other new edition, the Hanau Bible in 1608, Oppenheim Bible 1612, and 50 years later the Bible of Várad. The next, more modern-looking Bible was the so-called Golden Bible, printed in 1685. This was the Bible of the Hungarian people for the following 2 centuries. It was revised in 1908, and we use this 1908 revised Károly Bible as the basis for our revision work because it has still a very archaic language. In our revision work, we took into consideration all the previous editions that I already mentioned, but later on we started to look all the different modern versions, including several English and German translations. It helped us to understand the original Greek and Hebrew text of the Bible and also helped us to avoid the pitfalls of the modernizations. This phase of the work took several years as we were going through the different books of the Bible. But now let's go to the other room. In this room I piled up the manuscripts of our revision work. You may understand that these several thousand pages represent the different phases of this 8-year-old revision process. You may understand that each page may represent several hours of a certain individual who were involved in this revision process. Pastor Sale worked faithfully for over 7 years on this project as the closest co-worker to Joseph. What was the hardest part of the work?
First of all, finding time to carry out the different activities. But as far as the revision itself is concerned, the biggest challenge was taking into consideration several seemingly opposing aspects and keeping our activities within the boundaries of the concept of revision, as we choose carefully the words for change. This took very disciplined work.
Are you satisfied with the result?
I believe we achieved our goal and were able to create a more readable text, but still containing the flavor of the old translation.
In 2007, we were able to publish the New Testament part of the ongoing revision work. It was well received among the experts.
Baranyi József jeles munkatársak bevonásával, a tőle már megszokott igényességgel végezte el az 1908-as revideált Károlyi Biblia archaizáló szövegének modernizálását és Károlyi jellegének visszaállítását. Miközben elkerülték a modernizálás sokféle buktatóját, egy könnyen olvasható, érthető és külső megjelenésével is igényes új szövetséggel ajándékozták meg a magyar bibliaolvasók nagy táborát. Illesse őket köszönet.
Is this New Testament, does it live up to your expectations?
Yes, it does live up to my expectations, and I was very happy to discover that one could feel the language of the original Károly Bible. So it contains the strengths of the Károly translation, and you don't have the obstacles of the 16th century language. So it's a wonderful edition, and I was most happy to read and consult. I daily read this new edition of the Károly Bible.
Do you think it would replace the old version?
Well, it is our hope that in the long run, perhaps not immediately, because there are some people who are very keen on reading the Károly Bible and some people who favor the modern translation of the Bible, but I think in the long run it might replace the Károly translation. It is our hope, yes.
One of our most greatly appreciated activities in Hungary have been the organizing of symposiums and conferences, where we introduced Christian organizations from the United States and Western Europe to facilitate mutual cooperation on an international level. The Hungarian Christians have been isolated from the international scene for over 40 years and need to catch up. Trans World Radio, CBN and Focus on the Family were among the major Christian organizations represented at our symposiums. Following the second symposium, our delegation was invited by the Prime Minister of Hungary to the Parliament, where his chief advisor held a reception for us. We discussed several important questions related to the electronic media being used by the churches. The Prime Minister assured us of his personal support to work together with American Christian organizations in the rebuilding of Hungarian religious broadcasting. There is a great need to strengthen the ruined foundations of those Christian principles upon which the country once rested. Our television ministry is just as important as our literature mission. We are broadcasting our various television programs on over 40 regional and local television stations, covering the whole country with our programs. Also, about 100 of our films can be seen on the internet. In the following clips, you will see an overview of our programs. Revival is a monthly 30-minute magazine program with news and reports about different